Good morning, guys. Quick sound check. Let me know you can hear me. How's everybody doing this morning? Grab the chat here real quick. Rosie. Yeah, it's unmuted. All right. Well, we've got an interesting day to start off the week again, similar to last week again, where we ended up down pretty big on the Sunday night open. This week we ended up down fairly decent on the Sunday night open, and now continuing to kind of pack that on a little bit. What's up, Will? Good morning. Hopefully you guys all had a great weekend. For me, it was nice and relaxing finally. Hopefully everybody, if your moms are still around or they're close by, you guys were able to spend some time with them. That is always a good thing there for Mother's Day. I took the baby for the weekend, and it wasn't even like a full day's work type of situation for what Emily normally does. So mothers do a lot. It was a good weekend there. So I'm ready to get the week started though. We've got a lot of volatility here. If we're taking a look at the markets, it's kind of a bloodbath this morning here. We've got S&Ps down 2%, Nasdaq down 2.63%, Russell here down pretty much right at 2%, and the Dow down 2.03% here. So everything's moving pretty much in lockstep here except for the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is leading the charge to the downside, down 2.6% today. So let's jump in and take a look here. We have no red news announcements here coming out for today. There is nothing really on the board pretty much for anything really here Monday, May 13th. We've got a little bit here coming out tomorrow. Nothing really that affects us so much. Some small stuff in the morning there. Some mortgage delinquencies. Not quite sure when that actually gets released here. But at this point, it doesn't look like the market actually needs any of any of the news announcements here. We've got some obviously some tariff and trade war type stuff going on, and that has given us plenty of volatility here. So one thing that we're sitting on right now, which is going to be really, really important here, if we take a look at the daily chart, and we just take a look at essentially, the action that we had from Friday here, and essentially, Friday we opened right in here, 28.59.75s. You can see we sold off all the way down to lows of 28.26s. So we sold off about 33 points there in the S&Ps. And then from those lows, we ended up rallying 67 points and closing just a few points off the highs up there, 28.86.75s. So Friday was a really super strong bull day. Completely annihilated any of the bears that were short in the morning there. And you can see coming into today, 28.29.50s, we're gapping right down back into where we rallied out of on Friday. So this is going to be a really, really big reversal here. And I'm torn on two reasons. Number one is we could end up doing, something similar to like we did back in here, where we get the nice gap down, we rally hard, we end up gapping a lot of this bar, reversing it, kind of rally a bit, sell off hard, and then kind of regain some of that into the end of the day. Or we could just completely crater here and work our way much, much lower. I mean, we're already down 2% or so on the day. That could get a lot uglier. So what's the game plan for today? Well, two things. Number one is where we close at today and what kind of strength ends up coming out of this support level that we're kind of currently sitting in, which is going to be 28.33 to 28.30.50s. 28.30.50s was the support level we were watching for on both Thursday and Friday. Finally traded there on Friday, and that's what led to that nice basically 60-some point rally there out of 28.30.50s. So for me, this is going to be the second test of this support level here. I'm going to do a whole lot of nothing right at the open. And the reason being is that if we're able to hold this level today, then we have a shot at this daily chart resuming the uptrend here and kind of working its way back to the upside. This is a this is a really nice rally here coming out of Friday, and we're completely giving all of that up today. So if we end up going lower today, closing beneath these levels, then we're essentially going to be changing trend on some larger time frame charts here. If you look at the weekly chart here, it's a really big indecision bar. Last week the S&Ps had a range of 112 and a quarter points there. That's a really big move, right? That's over $5,500 per contract in the S&Ps. Really, really big move there, obviously. But what really is most concerning here is the fact that if we do end up breaking this, we've got room way down in here to 2750s and even further. So we've got about another 80 points or so we can drop from where we're currently printing at in the S&Ps here. So I think that is the bigger thing to pay attention to here. Now, again, I don't know that we're going to necessarily drop straight off the face of the map here, a large gap down on the week without coming up and kind of rechecking maybe this 28, 86, 75s here. So I am going to be cautious for, kind of I don't even want to call it a dead cat bounce or a bear cover rally here. Just know that, in the event that we just start ripping higher here, in the matter of 4 hours, we can do a lot of damage to the bears there. So keep that in mind here. I'm not 100% convinced each way, one way or the other here. Again, it's going to be a big indecision as to what happens down here, and just have to wait for some closes in order to make that determination. Now, moving over here to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is doing something a little bit different here. NASDAQ down 2.6% here. It's actually cracking through Friday's support levels there of 74.5350s and actually traded all the way down here into 74.19 quarters. So for the NASDAQ, I think we can have some potential day trades in here. I like potential longs off 74.19 quarters back to 74.5350s. I like shorts off 53.50s back down to 74.19 quarters. I think we can play kind of inside of this range today, and the reason being is it's about a 33-point range, whereas the S&Ps only have a 3-point range kind of between those targets. So realistically, we're going to bounce back and forth between those 3 points in the S&Ps fairly quickly. I don't think it gives enough risk-reward ratio, much like I do in the NASDAQ here. If we've got 33 points worth of room to play with in there, then we can definitely set up some trades and capture some of this move potentially if and when it sets up, right? So that's going to be the game plan for the day in the NASDAQ, is just kind of playing back and forth between these levels until one of them breaks. And again, same thing in here. This is going to be a big level going forward. I mean, we've essentially gone from, call it 78.50 to 74.50. So we've sold off about 400 points here in the NASDAQ. What is that? 10% or so? No, 5.5% or so in the NASDAQ here. So really big movements going on in there, and just have to respect these levels, and it needs to show us some type. I thought we had it actually on Friday. I was actually really excited about this week. I thought we'd finally, kind of put in a daily bottom here, and we were going to get an hourly pullback and then change this trend, and we could ride this all the way back up in 8,000. Now, that game plan has changed here with the Sunday night open, and this continuation to the downside. NASDAQ down 198 points on the day as I'm speaking right now. So be cautious at the open. Watch these levels, pay attention to them. But more importantly, it is going to set up the tone, most likely for this week and the next few weeks to come, kind of how we can close in and around today and tomorrow with these lower levels. These are some pretty big support levels that we're sitting on. And again, you can see that because we mustered up a 67-point rally in the S&Ps out of these levels on Friday alone in just a couple hours. So really big support levels. Excuse me. All right, taking a look here at the Russell. So Russell's currently sitting, we got a level in place 1548.90 and a lower level in place at 1539.60s. Again, no day trades in here at the moment. Well, I mean, we're not quite gapping down towards this 1539.60 yet. If we were doing that, then I would say, okay, we've got a potential day trade in there. At the moment, the only market I see a potential day trade in is going to be the Nasdaq, back and forth between those levels at the moment. As for the Russell, it's going to be the same thing here. Russell had a really nice rally coming out of those lows on Friday. It had fallen back into its support levels. So again, if Russell can hold this level going forward today, then I think we'll be fine. If not, the Russell here does have quite a bit of room to the downside here. It has been the laggard in terms of this entire move back to the upside. Again, that daily chart just looks, it looks like we should have been or could have been doing something today to the upside here, and kind of reversing this daily chart. But that is not the case here. And I want to wait for those confirmations and closes to give us any type of good direction here in terms of the Russell. This will be the third test of this level, so it's actually going to make for really interesting trading, I think, in there today. If any of the markets I think are going to be a little bit sloppier, choppier, most likely going to end up being the Russell, given the fact that obviously it's down a large portion on the day already, 1.89%, and it is not moving lockstep with crude oil here, which is up $1.59 on the day, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. And last but not least, the final indice here to pay attention to today, which actually just traded into its support level down in here, 25,437s. It has a support level in place, 25,532s and 25,437s. So in the Dow, this would be my second day trade, if you will, for the day. It is my least favorite, though, between the Nasdaq and the Dow here. Would be a play between 25,437s up to 25,532. So there's like 100, basically 100 points in there that you could play with in the Dow. And we're gapping down here right now, 25,456s. So we just traded a low of 423s there. So depending on what the open does here, if we can kind of sell back off, I think there's a long opportunity off of 437s initially from the open, and a rally back into 25,532s. We're moving around here pretty much at 30 and 40 points at a clip here in the Dow. So that really should not be too much of a problem. We're down 500 points on the day, so being down 400 points on the day could happen relatively quickly. And again, we rallied 500 points out of these support levels on Friday. Actually, a little bit over 500 points there in the Dow. So again, a 100-point move here. In normal days, it would sound like a lot. In recent times and in the volatility we're experiencing, 100 points here in the Dow is nothing more than a simple pullback, or a quick, 15 to 20 point move in either direction. So that's what I'm seeing there for the indices. If I had to rank the plays for today, I would say Nasdaq is probably my preferred long on the support and preferred short on the resistance. Dow is probably going to be the second favorite there, off of 25,437s up to 25,532s. Russell here, I don't see much to do in there, and I think the S&Ps are going to bounce around between this 30, 50, and 33 level here for a bit this morning, and relatively nothing to do in there. If it breaks through kind of Friday's lows there of 28.26s, and then starts to pop back through, gets a good reaction, that may actually kind of put itself in the contending there. But otherwise, at the moment, I don't see much to do in there other than wait for some type of confirmation in a specific direction. We've got a lot of room to move one way or the other from here, and I'm not too eager to just kind of jump into anything at the moment. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to come, and there's no reason to kind of ruin the opportunities to be able to take advantage of those with subpar plays. All right. Taking a look at gold here. Gold finally breaking out here. So gold currently trading 1297.60s here. We got a really nice move happening in gold so far. First hourly range, which will be closing in about 4 minutes, is 11 points just now. So getting a nice move higher in gold here. Going to be watching this for today. Like I said, this was first test, second test. essentially third and then now fourth test, pushing through this level here of 1290.10 to 1291.90s. Unable to get back through and break this 1279 support level, and we're off and running to the races here today in the gold market. So this is actually really interesting. The fact that we're getting kind of some correlation here where market's down, gold's up, and we've got bonds up just a little bit. I mean, not in comparison to what the S&Ps are down. They're not up, obviously the equivalent there. But again, we've got gold coming in here strong. I don't even know, what is this, like 10 5-minute bars straight up to the moon there. So watch for pullbacks here today in gold. Most likely going to be looking at some kind of longer term swing things happening here in the gold markets now that we're not able to get down to these lower levels. We put in the failure to go lower pattern here, and we've retested and finally broke through this support level now on the fourth test there. So gold is going to be working its way higher here, and I'll do a larger breakdown on this and kind of analyze some trade ideas in here that I'm going to be putting on as well. And mentioned crude earlier today. So crude again, up nicely so far on the day, $1.46, up 2.37% here. And you can see we've got this 62.54 level in place that we needed to break above in order to get some movement. We had 61.08s to the downside here that needed to break below in order to really get some movement going. And we gapped above that this morning. We opened at 62.57s, and we traded a low of 62.52s in there. So pushed 2 ticks through this level, and now working our way to the upside. So if we take a look here, 5-minute chart from the open in there, you can see 3 solid pushes to the upside there in crude. And what I'm going to be waiting for now here in crude is any type of pullback that continues this uptrend on the 5-minute chart. It's already had a really big move today, but I think it's got some room here, kind of up towards 63.84s. So it's not that much of a move for crude, about 70 cents or so from where it's currently trading at. So 5-minute pullbacks in there. If it can like kind of have some confluence with maybe the Russell starting to show some strength or something like that, then that's even better here. Again, Russell down big on the day, crude oil up big on the day. You would think that those would move a little bit more in tandem here, but they're not necessarily this morning. So if we can start to see the Russell getting some signs of strength here, that should also then correlate over to some more strength in crude. And if we're seeing strength in crude here, maybe that'll finally get the Russell to start showing some signs of strength here. So again, we'll see how that correlation works out today. But that's what I'm going to be watching for here across the board. The 4 indices, gold and crude. Gold's actually about to trade that $1,300 number there as I'm speaking now, putting the highs of 12.99.40s. So I think it's going to be a really interesting day. I think you have to be kind of really sniperish with your entries and with any scalps that you're taking on the day. And the larger idea for me today is just going to be waiting for these confirmations to determine which way this market really wants to go. If I'm if I'm a betting man, if you will, and looking to put positions on and needing the risk on, or having to hedge against other positions or things like that, given the gap down here in the markets, I think the risk is to the upside, meaning that I think there is more opportunity that we can rally from this point than that we can fall. So we've got about the same opportunities in terms of amount of movement to the upside as we do to the downside. I think there's a higher probability that we can get the move more so to the upside, and I think the risk reward ratio is just a little bit better to the upside at the moment. Again, if we were kind of gapping half of this move, I would have a different tune to that. If Nasdaq was only gapping down 100 points, then it would be a different situation where it's like, okay, we can now finally get more of this sell-off and have it be happening in regular trading hours, If we were gapping to 75.50s, that would be, kind of picture perfect there. Then we can start looking at selling down into this move. Instead, we kind of did that in the pre-market session for us, and didn't really give us that opportunity, unfortunately. So, anyways, that's what I got for this morning here. I'm going to be back live in just a few minutes right before the bell, for everyone that's in the MLT Discord. That's where you can watch me trade live each and every morning for the first hour to hour and a half of the day. If you want to join me in there, there's going to be a link in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new, click that subscribe button. We go live each and every morning at 9 a.m. To share my thoughts and analysis on what is currently happening in these crazy markets that we're experiencing at the moment. And again, keep in mind, something could change today on a tweet or on a headline or anything like that. So keep your positions tight, keep your stops in place, and just keep all of that in mind for today. That's kind of the environment that we're currently trading in. And again, the news necessarily does not matter. Price is going to move in the direction that it wants to, and how you interpret that news compared to how the markets actually interpret that news could be entirely different. So again, don't try to play those news. Just be aware that it is in fact and could come out. So that's what I got. I'll see you guys in the MLT Discord. Thank you guys for tuning in this morning, and trade safe today.